The markets ended Friday on a quiet note, but for the week, the Nifty and Sensex ended over 0.5% higher. But for the month of November, Dalal Street recorded its highest monthly gains in the entire year FY20. Hello and welcome to Taking Stock, the show where we will review the week gone by and prepare you for the next trading week, which is going to be a truncated one. I'm Lata Venkatesh, with me my colleague Prashant Nair. Hi Prashant.
Lata, hi. We got a midweek scare, but that got bought into in double quick time, and we've ended in a pretty comfortable kind of a zone. Let me quickly take our viewers through what we have lined up on the show. Anu Jain of IIFL Private Wealth Management will join us shortly with a quick technical view on things from here out. Pramod Gubbi of Marcellus Investment Managers gives us his view on the week which is gone by and what lies ahead of us. We bring you opinion we got through the course of the week from the likes of Nilesh Shah of Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company, Ajay Srivastava of Dimensions, Dheeraj Sachdev of Roha Asset Management. You will hear from all three wise men in just a bit. But before we get to all of the opinion, a word on the market themselves. Lata.
Well, I've called it the week of the week. Those that didn't perform hitherto performed, for one, the small cap index. That was the outperformer. The big performance came from the small guy. That index was up 6.3%. And the mid cap index ended almost 4%, 3.97% higher. Within that, even sectors like PSU banks, not your normal big performers, realty stocks, the hated ones actually, they were the ones that came out and performed. And another theme that stood out was commodities. Globally, both crude and base metals did very well, and you could see that reflection on India as well. However, at the end of the month of November, some questions fall on our plate. There was a huge amount of FII buying. Almost 60,000 crores came in the month of November. Now, part of it at least was because the MSCI index has been rebalanced and India was to get some money anyways. And a part of it was because EMs in India were seen as undervalued. Now, will that continue? That would be a question that December will answer for us. The MSCI rebalancing is over. We are not as attractive as we were perhaps at the end of October. And, FIs could take a break. So there are all those questions on our plate. Before I get to all that, Agam, you want to take us through the leaders and laggards of the week itself?
Yes, absolutely. So this was a week where we saw a lot of laggards catch up with the rest of the markets. And some of these names would include something like an Adani Ports, which was, along with ONGC, the top gainers as far as the indices are concerned. We had Tata Steel, Tata Motors and Indusin also advance on a weekly basis by anywhere between 5.5% to nearly 8%. In terms of losers, we did see some rotation out of stocks such as Bharti Airtel. HDFC Limited was another one, and we saw some amount of weakness in BPCL and HDFC Life. Let's also talk about the broader markets. Some surprising names coming up. So Orissa Minerals got up by as much as 26%, 21% gains for L&T Housing, Finance Holdings, Kesoram Industries, CG Power, of course, on the back of the news on acquisition, and Cummins India also catching up with the rest of the capital goods sector. And on the losing end, we did have some weakness in GE Power, Interglobe Aviation, along with PI Industries and Trent, also seeing some profit taking, but on the whole, it's turned out to be yet another good week.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we end a good week and a good month, but Prashant, to you, tell us the red and green flags for the week that will be.
I don't know if it's a red flag, Lata, but when we come back next week on Tuesday, there will be a change in the way clients, people who are trading in the market pay margins. So something called peak margins will come into play. We've been sort of telling our viewers through the course of this week that this is happening. Explaining this in detail. Basically, if you're trading in cash or futures and options segment of the market intraday, the margin that you will need to do that will go up depending on what you trade. It could be index futures, it could be stock futures, options, whatever. You'll have to bring more money up front when you're doing intraday trading in cash and futures and options segment. One thing which struck out on Thursday and Friday was that the second tier financials are starting to outperform. Names like Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services, Chola Finance, big 6-7% gains over the last 2 days of the week. You can go down the list and you saw that action. Why is that happening? It looks like that this entire cost of money going down, that trade is moving away from tier 1 names to tier 2 and tier 3 financials as well. And, why just financials? I think it will percolate further down into companies where borrowing costs have been higher. They can refinance at lower rates and, get that benefit. So I think this is a continuing big theme which I think should last into the week as well. RBI, by the way, there is a meeting lined up later next Friday. RBI is, the expectation is that it will be a status quo meeting. So, the environment for liquidity remains quite benign, and that's been a big positive. Globally as well, Lata, things remain pretty constructive, right? There is ample liquidity, vaccine hopes, of course, out there. And it now finally also does look like the President Trump has decided to go quietly. Well, not so quietly, but finally it looks like he's said that, he will accept the verdict of the Electoral College. So that's essentially the global picture as well, which is supportive. So, no real hiccups in that sense. The flow of funds, what you described in the month which has gone by, will that continue at the same pace? Can it continue at the same pace? That remains the big question.
Oh, yes, certainly that would be a question. But how is the market positioned, and what are the technical supports and resistances? We are joined by one of the best in the business, Anu Jain, Senior Partner and Head of Equity Advisory and Brokerage at IIFL Private Wealth Management. Anu, pleasure having you with us today.
Hi, Lata.
The first question is, how is the market positioned? The handover from the November contract seems pretty heavy. A lot of FII longs, I think 77% longs got handed over. So do you think that we are good to go past that 13,150 thereabouts? Or do you think we're going to meet some near-term resistance?
So in terms of rollover, Lata, the rollovers for Nifty have been pretty decent. It's at about 79%, which last month was 78%. So I think that is a good sign. If you're looking at levels, your 10 days at about 12,895 and your 20 days about 12,550 arounds. If we look at support levels, and which have been adhered to even on Wednesday when we had a bearish engulfing formation, that's at about 12,730. As you said, we made a high of about 13,150. That is going to be challenging for some more time. If we do cross that and we hold that, then you can have about 2 to 3% more. We've been looking at global indices also, and all of them are showing a movement of 3 to 4%, and that is in line with what our bigger indice, which is Nifty, is also showing. Beyond 3 to 4%, as of now, there is no big clarity. As you also were saying that, we're entering the month of December where FIs generally go quiet, and we've seen a breakout happen, as Prashant was saying, on the second tier stocks, which is either from banking or from non-banking. And we saw that 4 days back, that breakout on the mid-cap index beyond 18,400. Now, that is a point where you are getting the 20-day moving average also, and you're getting a breakout for the mid-cap index. From there, we've rallied till about 19,700 today. So that seems to be the place where the trade seems to be focused for the next maybe a month or so. So I would say that probably Nifty, until and unless Reliance decides to wake up from its slumber, you will see probably the mid caps kind of take it from here.
If you had to express that view on the Nifty mid-cap index, where would you see that?
So you have again there, roughly about 20,100 to 20,300 as a resistance forming, kind of a point. And if you look at the 1 year thing where we were and we are still, that could be much higher, 21,800 odd. But right now, the near-term resistance would be roughly about 2,100 to 2,400. So that's the point where you will meet resistance. But the kind of action we saw yesterday and even today, when Nifty was pretty quiet or even went into negative zones, there was consistent up moves throughout the day into the mid-cap index, which is indicative that there is strength building up there.
Okay, well. Anu, I wanted to ask you about metals, because Nifty metals soared over 5% this week. And it was not just metals, actually it was an extension of commodities itself, which did very well globally. Manisha Gupta, our commodities editor, is here to just present the key reasons, and we want your view on levels on certain stocks. Manisha, tell us.
Well, yet another week where we have seen very strong gains continue for the base metal prices. This actually is an 8th straight month for the month of November that the base metal prices are headed for a stronger gains here. So much so that you are looking at stronger economic data that has been supportive. It is about the vaccine optimism, the run-up in equities, cheap, easy liquidity and the speculative long positions which have continued on the higher side clearly have been supportive. And then you have supply disruptions in various mines in Latin America which also have done their due. Copper clearly has been an outperformer. We are looking at a 7-year highs on LME and the Indian copper prices have hit an all-time highs in this week. 70% of gains is what we have seen put in from copper from March lows. This clearly has been an outperformer and we have seen nearly 30% of gains in this year until now. If you look at the second and the third metal, then that has been zinc and then nickel. Zinc is gained up by nearly 23% in this year and nickel up by 15% as well. Nickel actually is trading at a 17-month highs, zinc at a 12-month highs, aluminum is trading at a 3-year high. So wherever you look, it is a multi-month to multi-year highs that the base metal prices are putting forth. And the expectation is that you could see further gains from here. We haven't seen any banks or brokerages still give a cautious or a short sell from here. It still is a buy on dip strategy that continues for at least next couple of months.
Okay, Anu, would you play that theme? And not just metals, but not just Tata Steel, Hindalco, Vedanta, SAIL, JSW Steel, JSPL, but also all the gas and oil themes. I think you're on mute, Anu. Anu, we can't hear you.
Sorry, that's the problem for the year. Okay, so gas utilities we saw play out today in a very big way, whether it was IGL, whether it was Mahanagar Gas or Gujarat Gas. I think if one is looking at an investment grade long-term stock, I would still stick with that. And I think there is still space for 20 to 25% on the gas utilities. When it comes to other commodity stocks, I think the safest I would look at is Hindustan Zinc, and that is looking good. That basically, if you look at it, the 50-day moving average is at about 216, 20 days about 220. It's just given a breakout today from those levels at about 230. I think that is where trade can kind of take place if you're looking at a trading position. As I said, for investment, probably a Gujarat Gas with a 1-year viewpoint for a 20-25% gain seems to be the investment call. So yes, we are positive on the sector. It is more the trading side which will move faster. So I think Hindustan Zinc as a trading call seems to be, with a stop loss of about 3%, would probably do a better trading call out there.
Anu, you have 3 stocks where you think one can take positions. Quickly, if you can outline them.
Yeah, so Prashant, as I was saying that, this is the mid-cap area where we are looking at. So we have chosen more mid-caps than large caps. The 2 stocks that we're looking in mid-caps is basically Balrampur, Chini. In fact, the sugar stocks are looking good. And we've always seen when mid-cap takes up, it's sugar and some of these stocks which pick up. Now, this stock has been consolidating between 140 to 165 levels. If it does move and give a breakout beyond that, somewhere between 190 to 210 is what you could see in a month and a half. So that is one stock which is showing promise on the charts. JB Chemicals, on the other hand, has been around 1,000. And there it's looking that, with the kind of momentum we are seeing, a 10 to 12% move out there also can happen because the RSI is showing a bullish range shift. So we can probably see that it moves out of the consolidation. On the large cap, obviously, this is a little more number oriented. We'll get around the numbers for all the auto sales. But Maruti has been consolidating and hasn't participated in the last couple of weeks. It's a range of 7,200 arounds on the top and 6,750. If it does break on the positive side, and that would be, you have to wait for a breakout, you'd probably see a roughly 6 to 7% move coming onto that, right? Possibly up to 7,600. So I think these are the 3 strategies that we would look. Yes, as Lata was saying, probably on the commodity side, Hindustan Zinc also looks good. And my trading team tells me even SAIL is a good bet out there. So those are things you can probably play for the week and, probably take positions on Tuesday.
Let me squeeze a quick one. Anu, the PSU banks were the outstanding performers this week. Does that continue?
So as I said, and as you were pointing out, Lata, it is more a question of now people saying what hasn't moved and what can move. So it is a question of people just moving from there. So if you look at that, yes, that play continues. And it is just not PSU banks. If I were to look at the way this week panned out, I saw how RBL moved. So RBL has given some very strong moves, even a Bandhan for that matter. So if I were to look, it is just buying beta rather than just buying, the safe stocks which have worked till now. In terms of PSU, obviously, the best and the safest to play would still be SBI. It's closed marginally negative today, about roughly 0.5%. And there, I think what you can really look at is that there is a margin of safety out there that supports are close by at about 235, which is 3-4%. And the 20-day moving average is also about 230. So if it were to hold on to that, you can probably see another 4 to 5%. But that would not be my prime trade for this coming week. As I said, if I had to take risk instead of a PSU bank, probably metal make more sense.
Anu, thanks very much for joining us. Great speaking with you, and thanks again for running us through your sort of setup for the coming week, some individual trades as well. Time for a quick break here. We come back. Pramod Gubbi of Marcellus Investment Managers on fundamentals in just a bit.
Joining us to discuss more about the markets and how Dalal Street might pan out in the coming week is Pramod Gubbi, co-founder Marcellus Investment Managers. Thank you very much, Pramod. Will this rally tire? If one wants, a top-down view, do you think at 13,000 we're going to dither a little longer?
Well, it's anybody's guess. I think so far the markets have been driven by liquidity, and liquidity continues to remain benign. I think we've been given a little bit of a booster with the news over the vaccines this month, and looks like that's also looking pretty positive. So I can't see any other reason other than perhaps a surge in the second wave that we've seen in the West, and now hopefully not, but in some of the Indian cities. But otherwise, it looks like the market seems to be in a good wicket. At some stage, I think if it's clear that the vaccines are here to stay and hence we're heading towards a normalcy in terms of economic activity, we will need the fundamental data to support that. I don't think liquidity alone can drive the markets forever. I think the shift will happen between the macro to the micro, because several stocks have run up in anticipation of this recovery, in anticipation of that recovery showing up in terms of earnings numbers. So therefore, as we head to, may not be the Q3 results, Q3 is still early, but towards the early part of the next calendar year, I think the markets will start looking to see some demonstration of improvement in fundamentals to support this rally.
Pramod, hi, Prashant here. Just wanted your thoughts on the entire auto space, because when we come back next week, we'll have auto sales numbers. And again, the debate will start whether what we will see is a strong retail pent-up demand or channel filling, etc. But before I come to you, let's get a quick preview in terms of what the expectations are. My colleague Sonia is here with that poll. Sonia.
The month of November will be a strong one as far as auto sector is concerned. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that. One, the demand has been very good this festive season. There's been a huge bounce back in the rural and the semi-urban areas. The supply side constraints have been resolved, and also there's been a rise in personal mobility. So let's start with the leader of the pack, which is Maruti. We're expecting an 8.5% year-on-year growth to come through at about 1.63 lakh units. Now, we've polled 3 brokerages, Motilal Oswal, IIFL and Jefferies, and they expect that the passenger vehicle segment, especially market leaders like Maruti, will do well. Moving on to M&M, there has been, of course, a big rise in competition in the utility vehicle space, and that will drag down their auto volumes. But the pick of the pack will be the tractor space. So just take a look at this. A 68% year-on-year rise is what the street is forecasting in tractor sales to come in at 35,500 units. So this means keep an eye out on names like Escort, some of the tractor financiers like M&M Finance, Chola Mandalam, etc. Moving on to the two-wheeler space. Now, as I said, this has been a very good month for rural sales. So a lot of the rural-focused companies like Hero will do well. For Bajaj Auto, we're expecting an 8% rise year-on-year to come in at 4.35 lakh units because they have exports as well. But the other players will all see double-digit moves. Hero will be the best of the lot. 18.5% growth is what we're expecting at 6.12 lakh units, and they had mentioned that the retail sales was very strong for them across segments. Even in the 100cc segment, things have been quite good. Take a look at this. TVS Motor 17.5%. Even Royal Enfield, the numbers are expected to be strong, although the last few days would have been impacted because of the cyclone in Chennai where production was shut. But other than that, 12.5% rally. Now let's go and look at the commercial vehicle space, which was the most downbeat. There as well, we're expecting a bit of a recovery, so 8.5% rise in Ashok Leyland sales. And finally, Eicher Motors as well, we're expecting commercial vehicle sales to rise by 10.5%. So expected to be a good month for the auto sector across the board.
Sonia, thanks very much for that. Pramod, so those are expectations. What would you do in the auto space?
I think it's a very early part of the cycle. We're clearly in the recovery stage of the cycle, and there's a long way to go, in my view. And obviously, the first movers are the two-wheelers and so on. And this time around, there have been specific factors which are driving rural demand as well, which is why tractors are also recovering. I think at some stage, if this recovery becomes more steady state and there is a broader industrial recovery, I'm pretty sure even commercial vehicles will come back pretty strongly. But I think we're a while away. So given the stage of the cycle we are in, one should definitely be positive on auto as a sector. We continue to remain positive on names like Maruti, Escorts, and Eicher, which have found their presence in some of our portfolios. And we'll look for a more steady state recovery in the commercial vehicle space as well.
Okay. Well, let me quickly play out to you what my colleague Sonal has filed on the gas stocks, which of course has moved because of the gas regulators' new unified tariff and open access rules. So here's Sonal with all those details.
Absolutely. Well, these stocks were in focus today because two regulations have been notified. First, on the open access regime, which means that they are planning to open up the city gas distribution space to more competition. This time around, it will be opening around 20% capacity to others. But the biggest takeaway was that OMCs and dealers, they cannot shift to open access. And this means that OMCs cannot actually terminate their agreements with the CGD companies and dispense their own stations. This was the biggest fear that the street had when the draft regulations had come out, and there was a fear that EPS could be impacted by 13 to 14%, volumes could be impacted by 20%, and hence a sharp decline in stock prices of these city gas distribution companies. Now do remember, both IGL and MGL have higher stations in deals with these OMCs, around 55 to 65%, and that is why a sharper increase in the prices of these stocks. The other second positive was that final norms indicated the stance towards these city gas distribution companies was slightly positive, and one of the sections which aimed at ending their exclusivity in case they did not develop the infrastructure, that was also done away with. So Jefferies says that there will be no negative impact on the EPS of these companies. Kotak, in fact, has gone ahead and increased the EPS estimates by 6 to 13%. It has also upgraded both IGL and MGL stocks as of now. The second one is the unified tariffs, which impacts the pipeline companies like GSPL and GAIL. So it aims at actually expanding gas consumption across the country and also one unified tariff for more than a dozen pipelines. What it means is that there will be one tariff. The average is around 57 rupees per MMBTU, and it will be divided in two zones of around 300 kilometers each. However, CLSA says that some of the customers that will be using this gas, for them the cost will go up substantially, for some of them maybe by 5,000 times, and that is why it is not legally tenable, or it is not basically practical, and there could be some legal challenges that this particular reform could face. However, MK says that this particular gas transmission rules, they are quite neutral, not much for the GSPL and GAIL, but irrespective, street was waiting for these reforms for a long time, and now that they have come through, the stocks rose sharply.
Okay, Pramod, not much time, just a minute left. So gas or any other stocks that you want to leave us with?
Well, guys, I mean, we generally tend to stay away from regulated sectors, given that it sort of caps the upside from a long-term perspective, like businesses which can generate significantly high returns on capital. And if they're free to compete and free to price and take market share and grow over the long term, that gives a significantly higher upside, and hence we've sort of generally stayed away from heavily regulated sectors. But we continue to remain bullish on the financial space, particularly the private sector financials, be it banks or NBFCs or insurers. And that's something we believe is a structural story here to stay for several years to come. And if we can identify the ones with the better balance sheets and better competitive advantages, I think there's an opportunity for investors to make money over the long term.
Pramod, short conversation, but useful as always. Thank you very much for being with us here on this edition of Taking Stock. Well, that brings us to a close on this edition of Taking Stock. Lata, it's a long weekend. Plans?
Well, I'm at home, but I hope all of you have a blast. And be ready for a truncated week. So lots to look forward to.